Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. Detroit needs a stronger tax base. To increase the money coming into the city, it needs more people. But how do you attract people to a city that has shrunk by 1.5 million since the 1950s? Well, one mayoral write-in candidate thinks he has the answer. Expand the city. Rogelio Landin wants to shift Detroit's boundaries, thereby increasing residents and the amount of money coming into city coffers. So what would that look like? And is he prepared to be Detroit's next mayor? To discuss all that, we have Rogelio Landin here. Rogelio, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you so very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you this morning.
Well, we have to get to the million-dollar question first and foremost. Why are you running to be Detroit's next mayor?
I have dedicated my life to service in this city, and in those capacities, beginning with New Detroit and working in numerous capacities of leadership in the Hispanic community, but by extension throughout the city, in governance and policy, always in leadership, having been elected and appointed chairman of this, president of that, and all of these experiences, as varied as they are, have given me the skill set, I believe now, at a critical time in Detroit's history, to really just come back, lay it all on the table, and give back everything I've learned over the last 50 years about what works, what doesn't work, and I mean that in a national and international context, and bring it home and make it work for our city and our people, our region, our state.
I want to talk a little bit more about your experience. Rogelio, you are now 71. In your early 20s, you were part of the New Detroit Coalition formed to create change in the city, and that was in response to the 1967 uprisings. What did you learn from that experience, and how did it inform your politics today?
It really shaped everything. For those who recall New Detroit, its origin story, which was what rose from the riots and brought every major stakeholder in the region to the table, and I was invited. At that stage, I was elected. I was the first Hispanic member of the Minority Economic Development Committee, and economic development is a key concern to this day. Access to capital, policy, governmental, contracting, executive order compliance, minority participation, both from the jobs perspective as well as the small business involvement perspective. It's a mission that's been a part of my life since then. And I was elected to chair the Government Policy Monitoring Subcommittee for that committee, which was a tremendous trust that was placed in me to lead the government advocacy part of minority economic development for New Detroit at that time. So it was a beginning and understanding that the foundational direction and mission of New Detroit was based on community self-determination. And it's a lot of what we hear with regard to feedback from the community, that they want more input in all of the decision-making processes of our city. I can say to you unequivocally that cornerstone, if you will, of inclusion, of community inclusion in policy, started with New Detroit. And it's something that I have built into everything that I have ever done.
When it comes to policy today, is Detroit inclusive enough? Does it have that inclusion element that you were aspiring to see it have back then?
It is, given understanding the context of what the composition of our city is now. Relatively speaking, yes. Can we all do better? Yes. So there is a certain apprehension that comes with the sense of loss that we've experienced the last 50 years. We have, on average, lost 20,000 people every year, on a sliding scale. In the last 12 years, we've lost 100,000 people. You can argue the specifics if you want, but at the end of the day, to your opening point, the big deal about the 6,000 people that we essentially have turned the corner on,
that the city has added.
Yeah, the city is added, and really, to a large degree, becomes a census count undercount correction in what we're looking at. But the inclusivity part, when you look at what the state's Grow Michigan Committee came up with, and the projections, and this hits home right now because immigration is now front and center at this point for us with an immediacy. And we're talking about how should we respond? What's our response? Well, it's kind of hard to put your grow projections of 650,000 by 2050 dedicated to immigration, or suggesting that that's going to be the reason why we grow. The exact amount of people that we have in Detroit is 650, let's say, give or take. But when you're looking to immigrants as being the reason you grow 650,000 in 25 years, you don't want to position yourself as unwelcoming. And
Sure. So you're seeing some contradictions here in terms of, I'm wondering if you're talking about Mayor Mike Duggan saying that we welcome you to this city if you're coming here legally with all the proper documents, but there are these stipulations about who we're welcoming to the city. We are not just all-encompassing sanctuary city. Do you mean, are you referring to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would. I don't know the specifics of the languaging of him, so I'm not going to address it directly. I will only say this, that as a state director of the League of United Latin American Citizens in the past, having worked on, to me, the most recent bill that made any sense, frankly, was 40 years ago, which was Simpson-Mazzoli. And the thing with Simpson-Mazzoli is that they didn't put any teeth in it because they never funded the enforcement part. So a lot of this that happened over the years, and people say, well, it's been happening for decades. Well, yeah, when you omit or neglect to fund these mandates, then in fact you are programming for failure.
Could you say more? What is Simpson-Mazzoli?
Simpson-Mazzoli was the last major immigration reform bill back in the 80s that came out. And there's been other attempts. But again, Congress has not had the courage of their convictions to actually do something that would avoid what we have today.
Rogelio, we are running out of time, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge and talk about the big policy that you've discussed, which is annexing 28 distressed communities in Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties. Talk about why you want to do this and what communities you're looking at.
Okay. There is a list in Michigan of over 130 communities that are qualify as distressed. And that includes Detroit. Yes, we're out of the bankruptcy, but that doesn't mean we're not a distressed city. A lot of people disagree with me, but we fit all the criteria. For 30 years, we've 50% illiteracy, 40% poverty, 20% unemployment, and that has been consistent. We've got to do something different. No longer is that sustainable or acceptable. And very quickly, I would just say that the last time we used annexation was 100 years ago. It was Redford. It's how Detroit was built. If you look at my page, landinformayor.com, you'll see a tagline, Detroit 2.0. It's how we did it the first time, and this is how we can do it again.
What makes you think that the distressed communities surrounding Detroit will want to join the city?
Because they have been in that position for 20 years. I started advocating for this 20 years ago And I went to anybody that I thought would listen. But those same cities were on that list 20 years ago. If they had a way out, they would have done it by now. I believe that when we pool our resources and we recognize the advantages of growing together, realizing efficiencies through economies of scale, putting us over 1 million people, once again increasing our position in terms of federal revenue sharing, that everybody benefits. And when you do that, that makes everything attractive. When people are on the outside looking where to invest, when people are looking at how municipalities manage their own situations, we will send a huge signal to everyone that we are prepared to take control of our governance.
Rogelio, there are so many more things we could discuss. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. So in the last 30 seconds that we have here, if you're able to get more money for the city of Detroit, let's say between education and transit and housing, what is your first priority?
Education.
And why?
It's the beginning of everything. It's our biggest deficit. We have, again, 50% illiteracy. We must educate them. Lack of proficiencies in our children in schools. We've been in the single digits longer than anybody cares to admit or remember. We have to get that raised up. I know how to do it. I've been part of teams that have done it. And the whole idea of annexation is more resources to do that. And let me state here, I have now sealed a deal on having access to four VCs who are prepared to collectively invest over $100 billion in Detroit on humanitarian projects.
Venture capitalists?
Yes.
Rogelio Landin, he's a write-in candidate for mayor in Detroit. Thank you so much for discussing some of the policies that you would enact as mayor.
Please visit landinformayor.com and learn about the rest of them.
Coming up, protests against President Donald Trump are happening this Saturday in Michigan and nationwide. We'll hear from a local church leader about why he thinks people should take to the streets. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is The Metro. Stay with us.